They say it takes a village to raise the children, but what do you do when the village is insane and the children are in pain? Simply because we fail to maintain. What's wrong with our children? What's happening in our country? Why are so many families falling apart? Why are we strangers with our next door neighbor? Why are we so afraid to even walk in our own community after dark? What's wrong with our children? It's not all their fault, y'all. It's not the children's fault that parents fail to give them unconditional love and lots of attention. It's not the children who are shipping the drugs in from overseas. It's not the children who are brewing the beer and selling the liquor. It's not the children who are writing the magazines full of pornography and violence. It's not the children that are producing the guns and the bullets that are killing them before they get the age of 21. No, it's not the children that are making movies that are full of homosexuality and promiscuity. No, it's not the children's fault. What I'm trying to talk about is a village insane, children in pain, because we fail to maintain. And yet the church can sing Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound, and nowhere around when children need somebody just to hear their cry. I'm talking about a village insane, children in pain, because we fail to maintain. We're not looking at a lost generation. We're looking at a left generation. We've left them to this and we've left them to that. And contrary to popular belief, all they're doing is going left. Our children are learning and becoming what we've left them to. Our children are becoming what we've exposed them to. And they're suffering under a psychological stress that finds itself lashing out in frustration. Teachers, police officers, and anyone in authority become the object of their displeasure. What are they angry about? Because we fail to maintain the biblical model established by God. What are they so frustrated about? Because we've divorced our responsibility as the parents and partners of God. Always talking about what our mothers and fathers would not tolerate nor permit. And we seem to tolerate anything and permit everything. We're so busy trying to be their friends, we forfeit the right to be their parents. We are not the ones that are on punishment. Our children have set us in punishment. We have to ask them to use our car. We have to be home by a certain time so they can go out. We have to ask them to use the phone. We have to ask them about the food in the refrigerator, and they don't even have a job, and we get cussed out if we come into their room and their name is not even on the mortgage. We're afraid we're going to hurt their feelings. You better hurt their feelings and keep them out of hell. It ain't nobody's fault but ours. 2 applications was evident in the text. One, they either failed to tell them or the kids refused to receive what was being told. We've got to realize that God has given us the kids, and we had them first, and we've had them for the longest time, and that the kids are merely a chip off the old block. And if they're not what they think, what you think they ought to be, maybe you ought to look in the mirror. What's wrong with our children? Marion Wright Elderman, in her book Prayers for Building a Movement to Leave No Child Behind, wrote the poem, penned the prayer. Lord, what's wrong with our children? Lord, what's wrong with our children? Children having children. Children killing children. Children killing others. Children killing themselves. Lord, What's wrong with our children? Children roaming streets alone or in gangs all day long. Children floating through life like driftwood on a beach. Children addicted to tobacco and alcohol and heroin and cocaine and pot. Children drinking and drugging themselves to death to escape reality. Children running away from home and being thrown away by parents. Children being locked up in jails with adult criminal mentors or all alone. Children dying of AIDS. Children bubbling with rage and crushed by depression. What's wrong with our children, Lord? Adults is what's wrong with our children. Parents letting children raise themselves or being raised by television. Children being shaped by peers and gangs instead of parents, grandparents, and kids. Children roaming the streets because nobody's at home or paying enough attention. Children going to drug houses that are always open instead of schoolhouses and church houses that are always closed. Children seeing adults to be violent and to each other while telling them they ought to be kind. What's wrong with our children? We're what's wrong with our children. Adults telling children one thing and doing another. Adults making promises we don't keep and preaching what we don't practice. Adults telling children to control themselves while slapping each other and spanking one another. Adults telling children to be honest while they're lying and cheating. Adults telling children not to be violent while marketing and glorifying violence. Adults telling children to be healthy while selling them junk food, addicting them to smoke, drink, and careless sex. We are what's wrong with our children. Lord, help us to repent.